Bullet Train is the kind of movie I watch the trailer and I think to myself that I should go see it in theaters based on the huge cast, the huge scale containing action, violence, and an R rating. And honestly, it looked like it could go both ways, being either good or bad. So, is this a good action movie or a bad hot mess? And Bullet Train speeds right on by to be right in the middle. And if that was a little too confusing to follow, you haven't seen the movie yourself. So let me give you my thoughts and opinions because this is my review and I didn't really know what introduction to use for this one. So I don't really have that much to say about the mindset before going to see it. Or my mindset at least, you know. Guys, honestly, I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to explain what I was thinking going into this. It's a brand new action film directed by David Leitch, the director of John Wick, or how the trailers will advertise it as, just the director of Deadpool 2, since it's more like Deadpool 2 than John Wick, which isn't a bad thing, but really thinking about comparing those movies, it is closer to Deadpool 2 than John Wick. Which is stuff I just said. Okay, so yeah, the movie is based on a novel by Kotaro Asaka and the screenplay by Zach Okowicz. Wait, that... Oh, no, sorry, I can't say that. I won't sell you on going to see the movie. It stars Brad Pitt and many other people you recognize. Of course the movie needs a plot. So, what's it about? The movie, I say, is like a hot mess. Why? Because it's really confusing what it's about first. Brad Pitt technically stars as a former professional assassin named Ladybug, who after a long break wants to move away from killing people for a living and instead just do similar jobs for the vague organization he works for. Which, in this case, would be to get on a bullet train traveling from Tokyo to Kyoto and grab a briefcase akin to the one in Pulp Fiction at first, but other people on the train are also after the briefcase, such as other assassins played by Joey King, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, etc. But other things are going on. I mean, the opening follows this man named Yuichi Kimura, played by Andrew Koji. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I apologize. He's an assassin who finds his son in the hospital and goes on the bullet train to find the one who put him in the hospital against the orders of his father, who's also in crime or something. While other stuff goes on, I don't really know how to explain it either without spoilers or me to explain the whole thing without having a stroke. The movie structure is a hot mess where it tries to have multiple stories going on at once. The characters from different stories will interact with each other as the movie progresses, not yet knowing they're all part of the same story as they ride this bullet train. But the editing and pacing is really bad. And while hoping chaos doesn't come across them along this story, because of those things, yeah, it definitely feels like chaos both comes out from the characters and the movie structure. I think the movie is as good as it wants it to be, but nothing more. It's ambitious and I appreciate many of the fight scenes and performances, but the characters could be really hit or miss. Brian Tyree Henry's character has this running joke of comparing other characters in the movie to characters in Thomas the Tank Engine, which worried me that this movie would be filled with cringe, and while the comedy didn't work for me for a while, after a bit it did get funnier when, first off, many cameos would appear in this movie, which, for better or worse, the cameos were the biggest laugh I had. But the movie does have some good jokes in general. Going back to what I said, though, about what was hit or miss, Brad Pitt does a good performance, as you expect, but this character goes from having dumb luck to being too big of a doofus I found obnoxious and couldn't believe he was this dumb to do what he does professionally. Like, there were times where I'm like, okay, you can't be this dumb or be ignorant enough to say stuff like this. Joey King is also in the movie. She plays an assassin called the Prince in this movie, which she was literally called the Princess in the Hulu film the same name earlier this year, so I don't know, I guess after this she'll play a character called the Queen and then a King. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, she plays another action movie character that, I'm sorry, she's good at performing, but she's not convincing. Like, I just didn't see past Joey King. I still saw Joey King. But it was still a good performance. I still found it a little hard to take her, seriously. Everyone else, though, I had little problems with. I honestly only really care for Yuichi in the story, which, without spoilers, had a real motivation to make me care for him, as everyone else part of the main cast are people who still just kill other people for a living. But the performances kept me interested in the characters, and I wanted to see how it was all going to end. Only real gripe I have left with the cast is that for a movie taking place in Japan, I wish they had more Japanese actors. Like, man, the movie actors weren't Japanese. But this is an action movie, so what about the action? I mean, it's really good. I don't know what else to explain without visuals or spoilers, but I like how they combine many of these action sequences with a real honest fist fight, since Pitt's character does try to take a more passive route, even though he'll have to fight anyways. The movie's plot, though, is still very muddled and hard to follow, that while the more the movie goes on, it's both more understandable and more complicated, where the more that's explained, the more I'm confused, even if it clears up a few other things. Personally, when it has this huge choice about how it's all connected, and I won't spoil it, it would make more sense that they shouldn't need a bullet train for this one to work. Just have all the characters at different locations, and if you've seen this movie, you would understand what I'm talking about, and if not, sorry. Overall, the movie is a fun mess of good actors and action crammed into this confusing ride equivalent of a mumbled conversation that still is somehow still comprehensible, but hard to follow. But yeah, it's been days since I saw this movie. I still think of the problems, but I do remember the joyride I took along the way to say I liked it and recommend it. Whether or not you'll like it, that's up for you to decide to get on board or not. I give Bullet Train a 6 out of 10.